Manhood, brought to you in part by Lucozade and Solomon's Bespoke.
This is Manhood, and thank you so much for joining us, where we always aim to be better as brothers. Now, this is episode 80, 20, plenty. So by now, you get accustomed with me always saying that the topic today is a big one. Because it is. It's always impacting, and we always leave much better than when we started. And we always aim to discuss about the fight and not always the finish line, which is what most people only see. Today, we're going to talk about time management. Also, effective time management, but also the excuses people give with regards to managing their own time. To my right, Johan Sayodike, behavior change specialist, behavior change consultant. To his right, a friend, a longtime friend, Colin Mitchell, who wears so many hats, who is the epitome, the quintessential man to talk about time management here today. I mean, he will list, I could list them, but we'll take us into segment 2, right? So we'll get more into that. And to his right, Niall McNish, Vibes God himself. I question his time management from time to time.
Many times.
Many times. No pun intended. So let's get straight into it. Time management. We'll talk about effective time management, but also some of the. I haven't done this in a while. Some of the excuses people give, a lot of times with regards to their own lack of time management, and expect me to go cry a tear.
I know watch with my eyes a lot when you
Well, I mean, let the chips fall where they may.
Okay. Just understand. So let me break it down first. You know how I like to do it. We're talking about time management. So let me define first what is time. Because if we're talking about managing this thing called time, and I'm not looking for a dictionary meaning, let me go first with our understanding of what time is. So I will start. Time is the unit we use to measure from moment to moment. I start to know that.
Okay. I'll take that narrative for manhood.
I would say that time, how we are speaking about it, is an agreement between humans
Go ahead.
to decide when we should start working.
Okay. All right.
And work could apply to anything and everything,
so,
right?
Let go Robert and then we'll go Colin.
You know me. I never shoot a straight line. I must come in narratives and quotations and quotes and
you will be you.
I would be me if I didn't do
right.
it. So they always say the queen is never late.
Manage your time with this. Go ahead.
All right. So excuse the interjection, the unnecessary interjection at this point, right? So the queen, God rest her soul, always used to say, or the people around her would say, the queen is never late, everyone else is just early. Mm-hmm. My grandfather would tell me that if you're on time, you're late, right? So if you're supposed to start at 1 o'clock, you're supposed to give yourself enough time to prepare, to be ready, so that at 1 o'clock on the buzzer, you're actually working and providing whatever service or arriving on time or whatever the case may be. And I generally find that people who are late, and you have all this thing about creatives or this and creatives. Well, last I checked, I'm a creative and I try to be on time.
Or not.
Because what happens is you find that people who are generally late hate to wait on people. Hate to wait on people. It's like,
I don't know about that.
Brother, Abigail,
Hate to wait on people.
Always have an excuse about being late, but you be there 1 minute after or late to pick up at the airport when she comes in from her flight. But the whole pressure.
I feel that coming from the fact that if someone who's generally late, they probably hear the fact that they're always late. So that one moment, that one little ounce of, I get to hit back somebody, they might use it.
So we're coming back to time management and speaking about that. And time management is simply managing not your time.
Go ahead, I want to hear your definition.
Your time, but also the time that was agreed. And not necessarily your agreement, because you told yourself you're going to go to, say, in case of an event or to meet up with somebody or to do something, and you manage your time or timeline to get that done and to be of your word.
All right. Now, Colin, I'll come and tell you this now. But define, see that you're still saying managing time. What is time to you?
Well, time is time. Colin, time is time. I don't want to reinvent the wheel here. Time is time.
No, but
time is the.
Is a reason why I asking to set the context, because how people approach the management of this thing depends on their perception of it, right? And you see, even late, right? Late could be, if you're supposed to be at 8 o'clock and it's 8:01, you're late. But to other people, the concept of late is something different. And if we're dealing with different personalities and type, yes, we could have a standard, but even helping people manage the time better is good. At least in my experience, working with people, helping them manage the time, is their concept of time.
Well,
So
there's
understand what they
semantics
mean
in
by
that. Time is on a clock. If you're doing a 24-hour clock or a 12-hour clock, you go from 12
So then,
all the
you
way
say
back.
time is measurement for you.
And that's a measurement. But if
Okay,
you talk
all
about
right.
time outside, we talk about managing a task or managing a goal to get it done within a specific time frame, or an agreed time frame, or within the clock. So when we talk about, say, effective time management, if we say, okay, well, like Colin, doing 5 or 6 tasks a day, wearing 5 or 6 hats, and doing that effectively means that he has his own methodology and process in place to effectively get that done and strike off on his checklist or however he does it to ensure the efficiency of meeting that task and allowing somebody else to then tag, to move on with what they need to do, whether it be signing a check or approving something or sitting on a board and giving advice. Setting something in motion allows for him to have will then be effective time management.
So I think you're exactly right there, Robert, because people ask me all the time, like every day, how you get the time to do all of this? How do you manage your own business, Signwave? How do you be chairman of the shelter, a safe house for survivors of domestic violence, which is a 24-hour shelter? How do you preside over the Chinese Association? Then when carnival time comes, you throw a big fete in carnival called Fete Lovers. Like, in carnival, how you even get the time for that? You have an 88-year-old father who is suffering from stage 4 prostate cancer, who you take care of, father of 3, and I had to keep my wife happy still, right?
Happy wife, happy life.
Right. So how much hours you have in your day? They would ask
And
me,
self,
right?
you start to take care of you.
Yeah, and then they would say like, when do you sleep? You sleep? And I normally say to them, nah, sleep. God don't sleep. Or I'll make a joke like that to kind of play it down, you know. But time management really, for me, isn't just about managing time. It's about managing all the different aspects that I have to do in a day. So I don't try to do everything. I just try to do the right things at the right time.
At the right moment.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're
How
right.
does this
Right,
side-
because you have the right things to do at the right time or the right moment, like you say.
How does decide what is right?
So if we dive deeper into it, I would say, I already said that I don't try to do everything. I would try to do certain things depending. But what I would do is, if I don't tell my time where to go, it disappears. Into
like
things like
like
WhatsApp chats or sitting in traffic because I left 5 minutes after when I knew I should have left. Right?
But is it?
No, I want to go on. I want to go with that thought because
Okay.
this is impactful stuff.
So just the other day, in the middle of, you were just talking about it, signing checks for Signwave. To pay bills, everybody waiting, right? I'm working on the shelter golf tournament, the charity golf tournament we have coming up at the end of June. So I'm talking to sponsors, I'm signing letters, I'm trying to get teams to sign up. I have a major expansion coming at the Chinese Association to announce soon. So I have 5 contractors quotations and I'm processing apples for apples, right? Takes a lot of time. And my son just walks in and says, Dad, could you help me test a game I just finished coding? Now, my son Lucas is 10 and he does coding, so he's very excited when he writes these games. So in that moment, I had 2 options in front of me. delegate everything that I was diving deep into there, or log off completely and sit with my son and play a game with a bouncing ball with a hit bar that he just finished coding. Guess which one I did?
Well, I'd hope you did the one with your son.
Exactly.
Correct. And that's the juggling act right there. It's not just about managing time. It's about managing attention and priorities moment by moment. Because it changes quickly.
So what I'm hearing, because Niall, I want you to finish your thought, but just to say that in the managing of expectation, so you want more of a definitive answer to time. In the management of, so if we take away the clock, and we're talking about when we use the word time management, what we're really doing is managing an expectation of someone, but also managing our expectation as to what we can deliver. And the common thread there is respect. Because if I am answering to say, this is what I can deliver, if I'm honest, this is what I can deliver, and I can deliver it in this specific time, and I can do this much, and there's an agreement, then the time management there is being true to that. When you're not true to that, that's when you don't have effective time management. Because if you're asked to do 8 things in that day and you take it on board, then don't give me an excuse. Because at that point, you've agreed, knowing the workload that you have to do, unless something absolutely left comes into play, then deliver to your word.
I agree.
And the respect then is there that that person then has, that don't at that point say, you know how much thing I have on my plate? Or you know how much thing I try? No, because you committed to doing that, knowing that you have all these things on your plate. So you should have said, I can't do this, or I can't give you this report now. I can give it to you on Wednesday, or I can give you part of this report. And that's how I look at effective time management.
You're making sense. But why I think people, and everybody could jump in, why I think people would say things like that? Well, look how much thing I have to do when, as you say, you could sit and listen to what the person wants, figure out what your day is like, and then give a decision whether I could do all 8 or I could do 2 or whatever it is. But why I think people would say, well, you didn't see how much thing I have to do, or instead of analyzing it, attempt to do it and then realize they can't do it. Why I think people do that?
Well, you could, no, you see that thing about attempt. You know, there is no try, there's just do, right?
Okay.
So you either pick up that fork that's on the table. No, there is a fork. I'm just hypothetically speaking. You either pick it up or you don't. There's no in between there, right? Great Yoda said it. There's no try.
I agree with you.
And
but
so
why
I'm
think
saying
people
that. So if you say whether you don't want to disappoint someone, or whether you want to be seen as something that you're not, or you want to take on this responsibility for fear, you know, like how people don't want to take holidays sometimes because they feel when they go on holiday, by the time they come back, somebody is taking over their job. You know, people go to holiday in fear times, or, you know, call in sick because they feel they can be easily replaced, which you can't. Nobody is irreplaceable. However, a dad is one that you can't replace. So I'm glad to hear Colin, because you wouldn't be a friend if you told me you made the other decision, because the work will always be there, right? You die tomorrow, that work is going to go on, or people are going to forget you. Your son won't. He's going to remember that moment. So I would say, to answer your question, it's within yourself, it is the ignorance of self, or the word is falling. I don't have.
Why do you think? Tell me what
Yeah,
you think. Why
let
people
me
do
just
that?
jump in. Based on what I'm hearing you saying, Robert, I have a little pushback for what you just mentioned, right?
It wouldn't be you if you didn't.
I mean, I am the provocateur,
Correct.
right? It sounds like instead of time management, a lot of people confuse focus management with time management, right? So if I were to go into a focus management situation where I know I have a lot of tasks to accomplish, I am going to focus on each task, and then after I put a focus on it, it comes to efficiency. I can't finish something faster than I could finish something, right? So if I'm being efficient, I will finish it whenever I am able to finish it efficiently. I could waste time, but I will make it longer.
But you
Right.
put a timeline on it.
I could approximate how efficient I am, and I could now offer my approximation to somebody else who is requiring of this. But now you mentioned something about respect. I could approximate to you, it will take me 1 hour to do this because that's based on my efficiency understanding, right? But then my son walks in the room, and I would like to put priority on my son and his needs. Now, am I disrespectful to you because I am now going to pass that hour that we have agreed upon, right? Is that disrespect? Now, if I put my son as a priority?
Well, I did say that in that focusing, as you put it, or managing capability, and the capability of not just the task at hand, but in terms of what you can do, that unless something far left comes, as in at that point, Colin's not thinking that Smallman's going to come in and ask him to look at a game, right? That wouldn't have been, when you were looking at the task at hand, you wouldn't have said, hey, cater for X, Y, and Z.
I agree.
So like in a budget, you'd put miscellaneous
Yeah.
at that point, that if you know that is something that is more likely to happen, like he comes and he says to you, hey, Dad, I'm coming back in half hour for you to check a game. Then you will cater to say, hey,
That's because
at
he's
some
efficient.
point,
That's now back to efficiency. He
Right.
understands that,
So-
let me add an extra.
in the conversation you're having with the person that's expecting you to deliver in a specific time frame, because remember, it's a domino effect. That person is probably there waiting for Colin to make this decision or to send this to then effect his own role, right? So there's a domino effect. So if you now say, hey, I now put in this additional time, I now need an hour and a half because I know Lucas is coming to ask me to check his game,
Yeah.
which you need to do,
Yeah.
right? Not want, you need to do that. Then you put in that extra time. But
Yeah, you're right. Because my kids have now learned to try to schedule me more because they understand what I do because I include them in everything that I do. They come to Signwave in my office. They walk through a lot after school. They see the demands of clients because in the advertising industry, just like in all media, everything is now for now.
Now.
And people believe it has to be now for now. So we have to deliver now for now.
They go somewhere else.
And similarly, the shelter is critical care. We saving women and children from critical domestic violence situations, and sometimes I have to drop everything and deal with that. So my children are understanding. So back to your point, and if you were to ask for my advice on that, things do arise. It can't be every time. You can't be late on delivering things every time because things like this do happen every time. Like Robert said, it's once in a while, right? I think communication is the element that was missing there that he didn't speak about. He didn't
Correct.
speak about. Where at that point you say, son, give me 2 minutes. The 3 things I'm working on, I'm just going to hit them a quick message to say I need a 30 minutes extra because something came up. And as a matter of fact, now I actually say what it is. Like I don't even beat around anymore. Someone I remembered Monday afternoon, Monday I have Father Mohammed over, who's like our family priest. We have dinner together on a Monday night. So the day of the week that I make sure that I have to cook is on Monday afternoon. He come in, we eat and we lime in the whole family, right?
well, there's another thing, he's a big cook, huh?
So
Big spread.
I try to make the time for cooking, but I know for Monday it for sure.
Yeah.
And it was like 5:45 p.m. and I got a message from one of the heads of one of the advertising agencies, this long message saying that they need this size file for this long thing. And I just wrote back and said, I apologize, but I'm already home with the kids. We will deal with this first thing in the morning. And he wrote back very understanding, totally understand, I'll check you in the morning. Because I get started early in the morning. I in my office at my desk before 8 every single morning, no matter what. So he knows that when I tell him, look, I just have some family time going on, you're really after 5 o'clock. He was very understanding and we deal with it like that. So I think the communication is very important on how you get these little extensions from people being
And the respect.
demanding. Yeah.
Because he will say, you know what, this guy was honest.
Yeah.
And I agree. Now, a lot of times I remember my days when I was in university in Manchester and taking a gig up in customer service. And you would hear people will ask me all the time, how is it you deal with some of these clients? I was working for Cable and Wireless. How is it you deal with some of these clients and they're not irate with you? I said, because I call them. I said, I'm not the technician. I haven't fixed your problem. But you know what? When I tell you I'm going to call you back in an hour with an update, you could check your watch by me. In an hour, I'm calling you back and saying, excuse me, X, Y, and Z is the case. I still don't have any information for you, but I will call you back in another hour. People just want to know, you know what? They're being updated. Good customer service. So it comes back down to the respect.
It's funny you said that. I was in CIC Fed. Oh, go ahead.
In the spirit of time management, I think we should go to a break.
You gotta give it to him. You gotta give it to him. Right. So we're talking about time management here on Manhood.
This is Manhood, and we are talking about time management. So I remembered when I was in CIC Fed this year, a lot, I won't say a lot, but a few people came to me with various things. You know, one was in particular about the shelter, and they wanted to volunteer some clothing. And another one was about, well, I need some signs from a Fed coming up in Signwave. And so different things like that. And your normal reaction, because you're out lineman, you want to have a good time and relax a bit, you don't feel to talk shop. But the thing is, in Trinidad, socializing is shop, right? And that's something you have to embrace. So the habit that I've gotten now is that when people come to me and they say something, I say, I'll give you a call first thing Monday. I actually write it in my phone one time. So I just create a little notes folder, and I say, don't forget to message Robert Monday morning, topic, da-da-da-da-da. And I just have my little list and thing.
Right. I line with you. I didn't ask you to call shop.
No, but I don't mind talking shop. But before, I found it was bad to me when I would see someone and I ask them about something. And then they say, yeah, I'll call you. And then they don't call. I find it's a kind of a hollow behavior, which to some people could take it as a disrespect, because you spoke about respect before. And I don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I just make my little notes now. And
But isn't it more honest to say, right now, I don't want to talk shop, so call me?
I don't think so, because it's not just business. And I do so much in the NGO space and in the community service space and whatever. People see me out and they want to discuss those things then, so I have to be available. And if it requires a follow-up, I should have an organized way of following up with these people. So that's a little technique that I use now that I find works very well for me.
And that is the part, you know, with effective time management, it comes with some sort of systems and formula. Now, Notes app is a real good thing. I agree with you, because I'm a Notes app kind of person, but find a formula that is true to you, right? And I say that because time management to me is a clinical thing, right? But many people, and this is in my experience, make it an emotional thing. So it's more of, I don't want to disappoint the person, so I will overestimate. I don't want to look bad, so I will say I could when I really can't. I don't want all these emotional things. Or, way boy, it's so many things I have to do. That's an emotional thing. Eh? So in helping people with, because a few people came to me, are always late, I need help with that. And when you investigate, is an emotional thing. And I'm saying time management is clinical, because 1 minute is always 60 seconds. 1 hour is always 60 minutes. But we just feel like it's so much. Tell me your thoughts on that.
Well, when you say 1 hour is always 60 minutes, you mean by clock time? By clocks, right? Because to me, time is
an hour.
Time is beat up.
Well, social construct is made up and all this sort of
utopia. It is.
And not
time
esoteric.
Listen, you see, when you start with that, you see why I asked you to define time before. Because and I'm not going getting at you, because many people define time differently. So that's why you have to find what you really mean by that.
So, Colin, you understand that Nile is a provocateur, right? So, it'll come down to, if you say it's red, well, is it really red? Is it different in light?
I'll not argue it.
Is there really darkness? In the absence of light, there's darkness, but is there really darkness? This is segment 2, and in segment 2, we always discuss things that are personal and even call people out. So let me ask you now.
Okay.
To get in your head, for me to have that understanding.
Okay.
If I've asked you to do, say, a show, or to deliver something to me, and I go out and say, hey, when can I get this? Because a lot of times, Colin, I would ask if it is not really burning at the time. If productions that I direct and I talk to the editors or Nile or anybody, and I say, when can I get this? Because I'm assuming you have an understanding of when my airing date is, and the parameters I'm working in, and the difficulties in certain circumstances. So I go, when can I get this? So in Niall's case, he may go, and it's not to call him out, I'm just trying to get an understanding.
Be honest, you can feel free to be
Correct.
as honest. And
So,
candid.
and he may say, Wednesday. And I will say, you're sure? Yeah, Wednesday. And I will, in my mind, I hear Wednesday, but I'm thinking, all right, I will deal with Friday, right? Wednesday will come, and Wednesday 6 weeks later may come.
That's an exaggeration.
And no, it's not.
6 weeks later, that can't happen in production. So
because
you really know
so I'm just saying in terms of a project, there'll be no call. There might be follow-up from me.
Yeah.
There may be no response.
Yeah.
And there are times even on manhood when I've invited him that Niall has just not shown up, right? And I'm only using as an example because a live example, because the same way I like people to call me out,
Yeah.
I'm looking for a live example to have an understanding and for him to have an epiphany moment. So immediately with those things, and 6 Wednesdays later, he may come and be like, no response, like not even done. So it's not even like I get it at that point. It's like not done. And so I ask myself, is that, I then take it as a disrespect. Like, wow, giving him an opportunity and I now feel disrespected. So, they say sometimes Peter pay for Paul and Paul pay for all. And there are times that I may then not want to then give someone else the opportunity, or I then helicopter manage them or put things in place that I'm saying, you know what, I need you to deliver this by Wednesday, but I'm going to put things in place that come by Wednesday, I'm going to have an alternative. So that when you disappoint me, because I'm now assuming you will, I have something else that's done. Because we need to make sure in our effective time management that the other people that we service
Yeah.
are not let down by our own brand and by our own standards, that we are never late. And I'm using late in this case as time. And so it might even be on a production where I say, Niall, I'm setting this up. And I have already known to myself, I'm going to go an hour early, get the done.
Yeah.
Because chances are I'm going to hear, boy, traffic. You know the usual things you hear, boy, traffic, rain. And you're asking yourself, we're a country of 2 seasons, rain or sun. When it's raining, you know certain times it's traffic.
Yeah.
So how is it all of a sudden these are somehow epiphany moments for people? But I'm only bringing all of this up as a real life example to have an understanding, because you're not alone in this. To have an understanding of how you see it, and like what's your thought process? Is it disrespect? Is it like, nah, I'm not really, I don't really care what happens to me as a result. If he doesn't want me again, that's fine. Or is it just an absence of how you see it in terms of, they talk about love languages, but effective communication to how you see it?
That's a real good question. No offense taken, right? It's a mix. For me, a lot of the times, no, I shouldn't say a lot. Sometimes it is disrespect. You would take it as disrespect. Not that I'm actively disrespecting, right? It's more like, I don't see that as a priority. I understand that you want something. You also want a lot of other things, right? So I may now make a bilateral decision. Of course, I should have more communication skills, but I lack bravery with that, right? If I'm going to be honest.
You lack bravery, remember, I was saying this is an emotional thing that many people, so that's why. So go ahead. I just reiterating that part of it.
So on the situations where I am choosing priority, back to focus, the situations where I am choosing a focus, that's where I will see that I'm late with a project. On the other side of it, there's something called time blindness, where in my mind, I think that I'm on time, right?
That's emotional again, eh?
Right? Well, I guess. But it's a blindness. So is it emotional when I can't see something?
Because what the emotion does is either you overestimate or you underestimate the timing. Because it's not a clinical thing. Because I know when I bathe it take 7 minutes and 30 seconds. Just give an example. Right? If you know that, then you could estimate time. Well, I know it takes me to drive from here to here, so forth and so on. Now I say these things because that's how I manage my time most times. But then when you hear somebody say, well, I had time most times, that's like when you estimate that, it's an emotional thing, not a cold, I use the word cold, but not a clinical, empirical thing. It's more of a feeling.
Yeah, but isn't everyone operating under the feeling of we think that this is how long something will happen?
That might be the issue. That everybody operates on it. Because if we measure in time based on seconds, hours, and days, then it can't be a feeling. Then people operating on different pages. And that's why
I have a very tight schedule. I have a very tight schedule. So I don't have time for somebody showing up half hour late in my day.
No, but I when he's finished, I'm coming back to you with regards to when you running a business now, and because Nile is not an island. He's not alone in this thinking, which is why I'm bringing up the real life scenario to get an understanding, because there are people who are going to be, whether they introspect and go, hey, that's me, or whether they're in denial, the fact is there are people that think...
Denial?
In denial.
Ching, heard that before, but yeah.
Time and place, time management on that, right?
but to go back to just so I could close off what I was saying,
time
is that
blindness.
I still consider myself very efficient at what I do, right? So and because I don't trust myself on some aspects to be on time for something, I know that if you tell me, Niall, get this done, the whole, let me real, Robert, you're keeping me around because, yes, we friendly, but I have some kind of skill. Some kind of skill. They have something that, because there's no reason for us to be workmates or friends, really and truly. So I still believe that there is some level of efficiency that, if not me, someone else who may have time blindness.
Competency more than efficiency.
Okay, let's use the word competency.
I will dive into that after.
Let's use the word competency. And I feel that a lot of people who have that time blindness that I'm talking about, they trust their competency, and so that they may oversell how quickly they might get something done, because I could get that done in 5 minutes when in actuality it really takes an hour. But the efficiency to get it done, they actually got it done efficiently. Somebody else may have gotten it done in 2 hours, but they got it done in an hour, but they said that they could get it done in 30 minutes. That's what I meant to say.
So I want Colin to come in, but I just want to clear up two things. One, the time blindness comes in when someone says very trinity thing, like I will be there soon, or I will be there in 5 minutes, and this time it's you're not going to bed. I'll buy KFC.
You know they're only for sure.
But that's not blindness. That's somebody lying.
But exactly. Different. But it's a culture thing in certain cases. And if you understand the culture and you're okay to take on those things, that's fine. But I always say I deal with a global understanding, and time is time. And so when, for example, it's like if you ever moving is one of the most frustrating things to do. And you move the bigger things, and you always tell yourself, those little things, just like in life, are going to take me maybe 5 minutes to do. And it's always those little things that take you more time. Not just than you thought, you estimated, but in terms of sometimes more times than the bigger things that you have to do. And I can imagine as a business owner and all the rest of these things, what you go through. But I just want to say, with regards to your skill set, nobody's irreplaceable. And I would say to you that your value to me is, yes, that you're creative, yes, that we have good dialogue, but the reason I still keep you around is because I also believe that everybody always deserves another chance. Because in that, I don't believe it's called time blindness, the blindness for you to see yourself sometimes, or to see how you show up, or to be, whether you've expressed it on other shows as well, depression, and all of these things. And I don't want to be that guy that doesn't allow for someone to see their bigger self. And I'm not sitting here as some sort of martyr or anything. I'm saying to you why there are times, and Johanse knows this, because sometimes I turn to him as a behavior change specialist.
Why do I like this?
And why is this guy? How many times I try to give him these opportunities. He comes to me and he goes, Rob, I have this idea for this show. And he knows, move heaven and earth to give him the opportunity, call whoever it is to get the show done. And then boom, 6 Wednesdays later, crickets. And but again, you'll come to me with something else and I'll do it again. Or I'll invite him back to the show. Because
No, but isn't that incompetency on your part? If it is that somebody is ruining or not being, efficient.
Let me hear.
Not at all. I totally sympathize with you. I find in my life the amount of things that I'm trying to get done in a day and the amount of people I'm trying to help, I found myself having to surround myself with more like-minded people who, if we meet in at 2:30, everybody is there for 2:30. They know that I say I don't ever meet for more than an hour, so they know at 3:30 the meeting will end. So everybody operates in a certain type of efficient way throughout that time with me, knowing that Colin not staying here till 3:45. 3:30, he told you that's going to be the time. They could move to the next thing, and it's not a domino effect. And in saying that, there are some people that I still have around me that are more work. Who are those people? I would categorize them into 2 groups. Friends who I grew up with, who have their own businesses, just like me right now, but they haven't reached the level of efficiency that I have. So, for example, one of them is an IT specialist, and every time we schedule him to come and do something, he either don't show up or call in after to say some story or whatever, right? So now, if I know that we have him scheduled for Friday, I will WhatsApp him every single day because I'll put in my calendar to remind me. I ain't going to say the name, but he's coming Friday.
That's the system that you put in
My
place specifically.
system.
Okay.
If I'm going to continue working with him, this is what I'm going to go through to keep working with this friend of mine. Because not only is he a friend of mine and we grew up together, but he's good at what he does.
Okay.
that's the trade-off.
So I will tolerate your time management issues, but I am going to be the one managing your time. So from Tuesday, every day, we still on for Friday, 8 o'clock. Right? We still on for Friday, 8 o'clock. Tuesday, you move any time from 8, you have any turn to drop, like I actually have to ask you questions, you know what I mean? And then that will materialize into something happening that I need done. The other category of persons that I find you have issues with are the creative people in my industry, the advertising industry and the branding and signage industry. I find that the more creative they are, the less that they see time. So for example, you might say, that Colin, this is going to take me 10 minutes to design. You genuinely believe to yourself it's going to take 10 minutes, but when you jump into that water, you realize, there's an hour. You know what I mean? And you're going, and at 10 minutes, you're not telling me, because your communication, you're so deep into that, you don't even know again what happened, you're blind, you're swimming. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, I sit in there waiting because you told me 10 minutes. You set an expectation for me that you're not delivering. 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes pass. I cussing by then, right? But now I kind of learned that the creative ones, I need to manage a little more. So I actually do the drop-ins, go and see what's going on. If you're actually working on my thing or not, you know what I mean? And those are the 2 groups of persons that I kind of still have around that don't fit into the exact like-minded behavior efficiency that I have. But I've learned how to manage them.
But do you think there is an albatross around the neck where, yes, it is what it is, and it just takes what it takes. And I know that, I read this in Forbes the other day where they talk about the Gen Z issue right now where the workforce is changing because the Gen Zs are now going to, and then there will be the Gen Alphas who don't see time the way that the people of the 90s and the 80s and the businessmen 40s plus see it. And that's going to be a serious shift from how do you effect in an environment where, for example, a grocery is open at a certain time, or you have dealings with, say, China or India, and you have different workloads. How do you get people on the same wavelength to understand that this time is the time when they just see it as, hey, when I show up, I show up. When I get this done, I get it done. And that's the workhorses, that part of the environment. But if we now see even the creatives, do you think that's also sometimes just an excuse that we hear all the time, I'm a creative?
Well, I found some of my creative people I deal with work better at night. So if I schedule them to work normal hours at my company, 8 to 5, you're getting less productivity out of them in a day. They're never on time, so you're always writing them up for being late. But when you really get down to what they're good at or what they're doing, they're good at it. they're just not good at coming on time in the morning. They're bad with attendance on a Monday. It's a trend that I could see. So I think leadership comes in a big way at that point for you to figure out, how do I get the most out of this person, and where do I position them in the company to get that out of them? So you're not going to put like a Gen Alpha or whatever on your front line that has to open your grocery at 6 a.m., right? Because they believe in getting a task done without fixed hours. They might want to exercise at that hour in the morning or whatever. So you find a spot for them, and if the organization that you run doesn't have a spot for them, well then hire somebody else. But I think leadership plays a big part into coming into that. And in your case, if you have a friendship and you're coming up with these ideas and you're giving tasks and you're not delivering on time, you just kind of have to manage it. I do is either you're going to give it the opportunity to say, I'm going to remind you for the 3 days leading up to the Wednesday when you said it was going to happen, and if then he doesn't do it, then you're going to have to say, you're great at what you do, but I'm going to have to find somebody else kind of thing, and you move on. But you can't just keep perpetuating.
That's it. Because sometimes they tell you, it's better to have somebody at half capacity rather than have somebody who's great.
Yeah.
You rather have two people at half capacity who you can say, are reliable, that you can work with, right, and
time
manage.
comes back in.
And then somebody who you never know, hit or misses, like a footballer.
Yeah.
You may have a great footballer who's not performs every other match, and then someone who's more consistent, like a workhorse. But before we go to the break, I know we have a break to go to, time management, as we talk about time management. But the obvious thing is, somebody's not performing and not a friend, and they're not that good at what they do, is you kind of remove them from your environment. But what about the people, Colin, who you have to interact with at a level that, say, whether it be a sponsor or the person the sponsor puts you onto to deal with, and you hear what we said at the start, things like, how much I have on my plate? Or, I don't have enough time. And you know what you get done in a day or how you see it. And how you see things is not always, it is wrong to always expect that from somebody else. But apart from what goes through your mind, which I'd like to know, honestly, what you actually think at that time, how do you deal with that environment?
It takes a lot of energy out of me when somebody tells me that they don't have time for something. Like, I actually reach out to a lot of men, friends of mine, or generally, to say, you ever consider joining like my board at the shelter? I've been chairman for the last 4 years. I only have one other man on the board. There's 9 of us. I always get women volunteering. We can make a real difference for men, to encourage men to get involved in domestic violence, fight, and all this kind of thing. And I get very little interest, because the excuse is always that, man, I'm so busy. Like, I have so much going on with work.
They don't want to do it.
Yeah,
That is it. They don't want to do it.
Right?
The point is, I don't want to do it, so I'll tell you something. And that's why I asked before, because I can't say it's 100% of the time it's because somebody don't want to do it, that's what they say. But I've realized, and again, this is working with clients who had problems with time management. When you get down to the nitty-gritty, and the honest part and the empirical part is, I don't want to do it.
You see that honest thing? See about being honest? No, but you're right. If you were really honest, I'm just saying that you'd really say, bottom line is, I know, like I said, I know we need to go to the break, but I'm just saying that honest thing is a big thing, because even when you said about the option, about how you're prioritizing something, when I asked you, it comes down to, if it's important to you, you make it work. If it's not, you make an excuse. And it's because what you then perceive as an option. Because if I said, hey, Niall, get that to me by Wednesday and I give you $10 million, right? Now, if you were not a billionaire, that $10 million means something to you. You will prioritize that and get it done no matter what. True. But because you think to yourself, you know what? This was an option. If I get it done, I get it done. If not, I'm what you always call yourself, a Nepo baby. Either way, I go still have a nice home to go to. I have food.
You ain't hungry.
You ain't hungry.
Yeah.
And you move to suit. And this is not really. I want to do it, but I'm not that passionate about it. And that's why those things come. And that's the importance of time management, even with regards to that. So, you want to take it to the break? I mean, I know you want to.
Without wasting any more time, we're going to a break. Welcome back to Manhood. We're discussing time management and the excuses people make when they're managing their time poorly. So, we are talking about one is why people make these excuses. And I was saying, setting the premise that is emotional. Now, I'm using the word emotional because emotion sometimes is the opposite to logic. And I'm using time as a logical, empirical thing. Because when we estimate or overestimate, it's because we're not honest sometimes about what we really want to do or what we don't want to do. Or sometimes we imagine and we're not in reality about what it really takes. And we do that because sometimes we don't want to look bad. We don't want to look incompetent because there's an example given before where you're saying creatives could think they could do it in 10 minutes. But what you could really say is, let me start this and I'll tell you how long it will take. Right? That is honest. Or even somebody, what I do is, sometimes when as people ask me to do something and I don't know, and I'll say, I don't know, but I could call you back in half hour and let you know, or I could message you in an hour and let you know, because the truth is, I don't know. But sometimes, and which I've done in the past, I was afraid, next thing I lose a client, next thing I lose thing, next thing whatever it is. But if I say something and then I turn out to be a liar, because that's what it is,
Yeah.
If you say you're going to do something in an hour and you don't do it in an hour without communication, you are a liar. Now, if at 59 minutes you still come and say, here it is, I know I have 1 minute left, but I really can't do it because XYZ, I might be disappointed, but at least I know what is going on. So I could plan my day and do something different.
You've always spoken in the past about and given a breakdown into reward and what that does to the brain or does for someone. Does it really come down to then reward and consequence with regards to time management? I mean, because for all intents and purposes, if you, and I'm using Niall again, to say if it got done and he knows, okay, there's a consequence to me not delivering, it would put it as more of a priority. And you manage how much of that consequence you're willing to deal with. Because if the consequence was death, right, and you didn't want to die, you would prioritize that to say, hey, I have to get this done within the 10 minutes. I'm talking about even using the creative term where they said they get it done in 10 minutes. If there was a reward of, say, X amount of money, then they themselves would put a clock in front of them to say, hey, I have to get this done. So ultimately, whether you're creative or part of the workforce or anything, you know about time, It just comes down to what is the reward or versus what is the consequence and how much you attribute to that.
I'm not sure if it comes back to that. I'll give you an example. I said earlier about it's not just about managing time, but it's about attention and priorities. And sometimes I would be in the midst of something extremely, what I would deem critical that I'm dealing with. And so all my attention is on it, and my priority was this. And then I remember I had to pick up my son from school, which is really critical.
Yeah.
The major consequence, right? But I found myself, I had to pick him up at 3 and 5 past 3. I come out of the zone and say, I know how to leave and go for him. And this happens to a lot of people. There's nothing more important really than collecting your child from something.
Right.
And it is my priority on a day and on my calendar and reminder, and it will buzz and everything. But when I just caught in something, sometimes it could happen. So when you say that about, well, his life or that, or $1 million or whatever, I think it depends on the
situation.
Yeah, the situation.
Because in a situation like that, as you now say that, and you open my eyes. Back to what you were saying, Johanse. Your son expected you there at 3,
Yeah, he
right?
did, yeah.
Would you call him a liar at that kid? Because he didn't communicate with his school or his son before 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock came and passed, right? So
in that moment, yes, if I been direct, right? If you say you're going to do something at a certain time and you didn't do it, in that moment is a lie because you didn't tell the person. Now, you could apologize, say, you know what, I was hyper-focused on something, or something happened and I didn't, and I apologize, and I didn't do it. But once you do keep your word, because then you end up being a liar. If you understand.
But wait. I get a bit confused here in the conversation because, as Colin brought up, in this case, like I spoke about options and priority, reward and consequence, right? Even when you choose to do something, even in the reward, there could be consequences. Now, even though he's doing all these other things, the priority then becomes at 3 o'clock, even though he forgot to go and pick up Lucas. And he gets it done.
Yeah.
So he's not let down anyone. It's happened, but there could be a consequence. The reward is, his son isn't let down, his wife doesn't kill him, right? But the consequence could be that he's now missed as a result of, at that point, maybe a lapse in the time management to get something done. As a result of forgetting about one other thing that he
The
had.
consequence was that I forgot.
Right.
The consequence of forgetting was that I let down my son. And secondly, I pick him up on a Wednesday at 3 normally. And my wife does the pickups the other days. And we just have the schedule running that way because it's most efficient because I drop everybody on mornings, right? So he starts coding at 4 at home. So I have to pick him up at 3. And we normally go and get a donut. He's got a treat because daddy picked him up that day. We stop somewhere close on the way.
We can't be looking as a
Right.
villain.
And he's got a treat, right? And then we go home. So I have him home for 4 and he starts his coding. So what you have to do now is there are 2 things I had to do. When I arrived for him late, I took the time to explain to him, son, I apologize. The reason I am late is this is what I was dealing with. And I'm very open. I explained the whole thing. It was a critical thing. I was in the midst of this thing and I dive in and that's what happened. And I ran late and I came for you. And secondly, we're not going to have the time to buy a snack today because you'll arrive late for your coding. So I'll make it up to you next week. We're going to go and I'll be on time next week. We're going to go and get the snack next week. But today, I recommend we head straight home for you to get to the coding because if we don't, you're going to be late for that. So it's kind of a life lesson. But at the same time, it's about owning it and how you deal with it.
Perfect, perfect, you know,
Okay.
perfect. Even if I just saying, you Simpson, even if you reached half hour late, right? It may be disappointing in the moment, but at least you say, hey, I apologize. This happened. You see, that changes it because I'll go a little bit further. Even managing your time, yes, we could say it's about efficiency, but it's also about communication, right? And I mean, this may be a peripheral or ancillary part of time management, but it's letting people know what is going on. Because that way, for future things, the person could say, you know what, this person not normally, but at least there's let me know. So it changes the dynamics with things. Because if somebody late, but I know at least there's let me know what is going on, I could work with you. But if I just there and I don't know what's going on, or there's a lie and say, well, I'll get it tomorrow, then I can't really work with
Right
you.
round the corner. All these is
Right, so then I
all those are
can't work
lies.
with you.
So
But in your son's case, just let me ask
Go,
you
go,
this,
go.
in your son's case, you know, as a young man, could be then turn around to you and go, so you're late, which is a consequence I had to take on, and now as a result of that, I am now unable to get my snack. So because of you, I know how to pay twice.
Yeah. I think he could justify it if it was a regular occurrence because it's once in a blue moon.
No, I've been pedantic here.
it's
I'm just
much more
saying.
no, I totally get what you're saying. It's much more tolerable. But I remember waiting outside the schoolyard and thing for my parents. And
It's
they
not
can't
nice.
it's the worst thing.
It's
And then when they
worse.
actually
A
come...
minute feel like an hour. Eh?
Yeah, and
Don't
when
you
they
feel
actually come,
neglected
don't
and-
feel your questioning them, you know. Like, don't be asking,
Yeah.
why you late for me?
I could have
No.
never. I
When
hear the
I'm-
conversation you have with your son. I'm like, I could have never asked my father about
Yeah,
but why
things
you
change
late?
now. It's
You-
different times.
Correct.
I remember my father-in-law came over by me one day. I used to cook barbecue on a Sunday in them days, and he would come over before he passed away from Parkinson's. We talked about that off here. And he telling me, what are you doing there? And I say, I'm changing the diaper. And he said, we don't really do that, you know, like, we don't really do that in our family. And then I say, well, times change. If I don't
Times
change this
change.
diaper, there's real problems inside this house, right? So I changing diapers normal. So
Yeah.
it just shows how times have changed, right? And understandings and how you deal with things are different now too. You have to embrace that if you don't change with the times.
So funny you say that.
Communication.
So funny you say that. So then let's focus back on creatives, for example. I see how it look going forward is that it's gonna have more and more creatives, especially with the new generations coming in, right?
So pause there for a minute. So you don't think of it as an excuse, right? That people love to say, I am a creative, that's why I'm doing these things.
Of course,
For
some
their
people,
lack of.
some people using it as an
Right,
excuse.
okay, I just wanted-
However, it is we are no strangers to hearing creatives really are not the best at time management. Why is that a thing? That is a thing because it have to have some kind of truth to it.
What is my role?
What is your role?
What do I do?
in general.
Yeah.
He gonna argue whether he's a creative.
I just try to
Well,
say.
I would argue that he's not a creative. So there's a difference.
I would actually categorize you into management, more than creative, whereas he is purely creative. So it comes into
not
more
saying that
leadership role for
you don't have creativity within you.
What is a creative?
Phew,
I'm
that's
gonna
a
ask
real-
what you think
that-
about a man. What a man is.
That's a real, very, very thick layered thing.
Yeah,
but
it
I
is,
think that
it is.
a
Two-
creative
two layer.
fundamentally is an individual that has inspiration that needs to be expressed.
delivered,
But then
expressed.
that's everybody. Then that
Inspiration
what-
is-
what
I
I'm
would
saying
I
is-
disagree.
What, like,
If-
this
if-
thing we
if
keep throwing
you-
about all the time.
And I agree with you that it layered and have a category, and even how that would tie into time management. And I'll give an example, right? So my god sister, she considers herself a creative. I mean, you all know she that my assistant, my former assistant, right? And I could say this on here because we talk about this already. It have times that she came to the office late. Well, I say late based on the time we agreed on. And here the thief do this. I used to tell her, when do you want to come in the office? And she used to tell me a time and still come late.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Right? And I would tell her, I was like, horse, that don't make any sense.
Right.
But because I am who I am and the relationship also, I say, tell me what was the thought process going through this. And once she told me, she usually take a certain route. But in her creative brain, she wanted to take another route to see different things. Now, I could understand it, but I show her how that made her not true to her word. So I show you that because
So no time
oftentimes-
blindness and all this other sort of
to me, them,
palaver.
you see all them kind of terms anyway. But this is me understanding what she calls herself a creative, what that means now, right? And for me, it's just everybody's brain operates a bit differently. Yes, we have the physiological similarity, but because of our concept, which again is an emotional thing, your concept of what time is, your concept of all these things, when you're dealing with people, and as you said it too, you understand, you ask them questions. So you had to message the guy every day, so forth and so on. With certain people, I set an alarm so I could remember, hey, you're still coming, or I have even automated systems where it send people emails. And I would say, before I used to say, I don't want to do that. Why I have to do that for? I used to be a little upset. But then, if I want to work with the person, understand them first, understand their concept of time, understand how they consider themselves, whether it's a creative, whether it's a whatever it is, and then if I want their service, then I will move
So
to
I
suit.
coming back down to asking, I'm making a point, about what is established as a creative, because I want to say, and I'll say this to anybody, this creative thing is because for you to tell me I'm not a creative when in terms of for the last 20 something years have been in the creative industry,
I agree with
creating
you, I
more
agree with
shows
you,
and
Robert.
a lot of shows people have looked at,
Right.
being involved in most top national things in Trinidad and Tobago, either hosting it or behind the scenes. Most of what content is seen on CNC3, right? I'm saying to you, if I am not a creative, then what is a creative in terms of creativity? So I'm saying no, but
I can't Google it.
and so when you say a creative, I am saying it is a crutch that people use in the industry,
Some people.
which I am also part of,
So
to not be efficient, effective, or on time, effective time
So you
management.
remember my pair one days, you used to come and party. I started as a
Some of the
bartender.
best parties.
Right, I started as a bartender in pair one, making $100 a night, and then ended up 11 years later as the managing director with over 180 employees, right? And we had some of the firsts in Trinidad, from all-inclusives to Marshall, Cool
To
Effect,
ladies first.
I mean, Latin night
Yeah.
Thursdays. We could go down a lot of things, but I was coming home one morning, 5 a.m., because that's when I would finish work. By the time we close the door 4, we pack up. I reach home 5 o'clock by my mother's house, right? And I remember walking in one night, and we had 2 doors. We have an outer wooden door and an inner burglar-proof door. And I would unlock the outer door, and every night she would meet me. And she unlocked the inner door to let me in or whatever and greet me and that kind of thing. And she said to me one night, "How you looking so beat up tonight? Like, what happened?" I say, "Well, I really feeling down tonight. Like, I just had enough of this. I can't handle coming home. It's over 10 years now. I'm reaching home 5 in the morning. I'm tired. I ain't going to wake up tomorrow till after lunch. I'm tired of this whole thing." And she said, "Well, why don't you go and do what you're good at?" And I say, "What I'm good at?" She said, "Yeah, you're good at painting signs. You used to paint signs." I say, what are you talking about? She said, when you were growing up, you used to go around in the mall where I had a shop and thing, and people would want like a sale sign, or they want price tags, or they want a name of their thing. And I would buy the paint and the paintbrush for you or anything, and you would paint it, and they would buy it from you and pay. You forget what? I said, well, you're right, because I did art at O-levels and A-levels, and I just didn't see it as a viable business. So I say, you're right. And then I went off, and I didn't take it on too much, and I was invited by Whitco, West Indian Tobacco, to go on the annual nightclub and bar show in Las Vegas for Pier 1. And while there, I saw one of the halls had the International Sign Exposition. And I said, well, I done here already, It was a few months later after my mother planted that seed in my head. And I walk into there, and it was like everything was just clear. I just saw it, and I say, this is what I'm going to do. And I came back to Trinidad, and I gave Pier 1 a year notice, 12 months notice. I said, I'm going to open my sign business in a year. And that was 21 years ago.
You remember? I remember that day because I remember the phone call.
Yeah.
we wouldn't call names at that point.
A lot of people get destabilized there because they come in party, they want committees. Everybody, they were disappointed because I'm coming out the thing. But I saw a different direction from here. And then you're saying, well, how are you going to actually make that a viable business? Because how do you move from FET business to that? But you know what? I would buy a whole truck of Carib in them days. We were one of the few people that will take the entire truck. Most other places take a few cases, we take the whole truck. So my relationship with them and Angostura and the bigger clients, even here, Guardian Group and whatever, I had big relationships. So when I opened my own business and I call them and say, hey, this is what I'm doing now, give me a chance now. Let me try out something for you. Boom, I put up the world there with the CNC3 thing. I can't remember how long ago I put that up. But it opened the door for me. So it was actually relationships with just a different type of business. And when you were asking about creatives and how it applies to that,
you
would actually consider me creative. People come to me not just for the sign, but for the advice. Colin, how you find this looks? What do you think? And I'll say, those colors ain't right, it's not contrasting enough. I give advice like that. But I'm primarily a leader and a business manager because I manage multiple creatives below me who could barely manage themselves.
You manage several persons doing a skill set.
Purely creative.
But you're in the creative industry, so you are a creative. That is what, because you have to manage.
The systems you come up with to manage is creative.
It's creative.
You came up with some of the first parties in Trinidad. Yeah. That is creative.
Yeah.
And see, and that's my point where when I talk about terms and the meaning behind it, because we as human beings, we are so dynamic. Sometimes we're not talking the same language. We're saying the same words, but we're not speaking the same language. So that's why we have to ask a lot of questions to even manage this thing as in the most efficient way that we can. Just go and say something.
No, I'm not gonna finish this episode unless I want because I want him and his peoples, right? Because it's something he's always said about creatives, and I want to say that we are all creative in terms of, your specific background, but I want to understand when we use the word creatives, it is now being used as a crutch word for the inefficiency of doing something or thought process. But really and truly, like for example, your god sister, you could walk all around the savannah upside down if you want, but she gave you a time. Right? And if the carrot that you were dangling was important enough and you said, hey, come to this studio at X time and you're going to meet this person that she really wanted to meet. She'll be there at 9 o'clock, not 10 o'clock. But it is because it is something that you can use where it's like, listen, I don't really need this job, or I want to self-flagellate. I go into moments of depression, whatever the case may be. That if I show up, and the consequences are the consequences. Is why the reaction is that. But
I understand.
This, and I want to come down to the creative aspect, and the reason why creatives, people use that word creatives and assign it to bad skill set or bad time management and all of these things is because you hear people in the creative industry like Robert Williams and persons like that, top comedians are always somehow have levels of depression, suffer with this, suffer with that. And so after that, the narrative kind of comes down to, that's us. But it's not.
So based on what you're hearing, let me just have some
I
clarity.
just want to give the creative the benefit of the doubt, because after I spoke to her,
What is a creative? I
right?
still don't-
After I spoke to her, she came up with different methods, So we worked together for different methods. Even you said it. You said it, Colin, is that maybe I give them work to do in the night instead. So my thing is, if I was profiling somebody who said is a creative, is usually in my impression is somebody who operate outside the norm, right? Like we say, we're not arguing what is normal, right? We out of the norm. Norm is 8 to 4, but I'm not doing that, but I could operate 4 p.m. to 8 a.m. Right? And then, but because I am my business and I want to operate 8 to 4, I see something wrong with you. Right? So I given that benefit. Yes, there are people who make excuses to do stupidness.
Of course.
But is now understanding that times change, and that if somebody operates at most efficiently in the night, is either I decide, then I will get them to do it in the night, or I'm not working.
But that's
with you.
people in the creative industry. But when you call yourself a creative, two of the best people I know in Trinidad and Tobago in terms of art, right? Stuart Fraser, as you know, eidetic, and Nicholas Huggins, right? I could tell you if I play pickleball or anything with Nicholas, and he says 5 o'clock, the man is there from about 4:45. Or if you ask him for something, they're going to deliver.
But maybe he is the anomaly.
No,
in
they are
creative.
because
Not
the
even,
creative.
Because he could be the exception to the
No, but I'm talking about.
Nobody runs late for pickleball.
Yeah. Nobody. You don't want to
like
miss your slot.
pickleball
You don't want to miss your
altogether,
slot.
because so like for-
But I'm saying to you that you still, before we end the show, I still want an understanding of creative, because you started off, and it's not something you start off by saying.
I think that will depend on who you're asking it to. So in my case, I would still go back to, I think, the norm. I'm not going to say names, but some of the most creative people in Trinidad I do the work for, most of them are less organized, and most of them are bad with time. But there are one or two very good with time and more organized, and they're extremely successful.
Right.
They are the top.
So does that make them an anomaly? Because they're still creative.
Yes.
So
Yes,
they're
they are
still
anomalies.
creative.
They are anomalies.
Yes, I would say so. So, for example, in your case where you manage and lead and you chair boards and the different things that you do and whatever, and you're creative, that's very rare. That's very rare because you're not gonna, if you look around and we choose all the past chairmen or whatever, even the boards that you're not going to find anyone
quite like you.
Does that make me less creative in what I
I wouldn't make it
produce?
less creative. I was just saying that it's a difference on everything, right?
They are anomalous.
Let me give you a
Less.
kudos. Robert, you are a creative, right?
I don't need
are
no kudos there,
That's all
buddy.
you
No, no,
I
because,
don't
because in reading, no, the reason why I was saying
Okay,
is because
good.
I read the definition,
good.
right?
Right.
A creative person is someone driven by imagination, constantly generating ideas and often expressing themselves through art, storytelling, design, and innovation. That wholeheartedly describes Robert.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He is a creative.
100.
I'm not gonna dispute it anymore.
So
Right?
now we could close the episode. Let me
However, right, in my closing statements,
Good.
right, there's a scale to everything.
Right.
There are more creatives and less creatives. In the same way, there's someone who, let's say, more square and less creative. They could be real at time. Yes, they're real good at time management, but they're as leadership or they're at other things. They're just really good at getting their time. That doesn't give that person, in my opinion, more forward or credence than a creative in those situations. But because we're talking about time management here, I understand. For the creatives at home, I know that a lot of the times you only function when there's a deadline looming. It's less about what rewards that they could get. It's really about the consequences. That's just, you could use that as part of your management skills. They're really more about consequences, right? Deadlines is what helps you push forward. You have to create your own deadlines for yourself. I know that motivation is difficult. Yes, I know that you're blind to time, and most people think that you're giving excuses. But this is the society that we live in. Most people are not going to understand, so you can't use it as an excuse. So figure out ways of setting systems for yourself. It happens to the best of us. I have not been as late as I used to be, and I'm much more on time generally. So there are ways of working around it, and I trust that you can make it happen.
You want me to give time
closing-
management in a nutshell?
Your
closing
closing
statement on
thoughts,
it.
but also in your closing thoughts, I also want your definition of a man.
So I believe real manhood is not just about managing time, but what you give your time to. I spoke about it earlier where I said it's not just about managing time, it's about attention, managing attention and managing priorities moment by moment. And I think everything we spoke about here today, you could kind of epitomize it in that quick summary there.
Okay. A tool, this is my opinion, the tool to effective time management is being based in reality.
Okay.
Right? Whether it is you being honest to yourself about what you can do from what you really can't do. Also being honest with the person or the organization or whoever you're dealing with about what your capabilities really are. And that way you wouldn't overestimate or underestimate. That way you wouldn't be somebody who is not true to your word. That way you could see 1 minute as really 60 seconds, not this amount of time that you could try to squeeze something in. It would be, if you're based in reality also and not being maybe emotional about it, you could actually tell somebody, well, ways I am really in Toko, and I'm supposed to be in Tong. And I apologize because I didn't manage my time well. So I know from Toko it might take me 4 hours. So at least the person know, well, 4 hours I know I could do anything. Which again is all based in reality and truth. So to be effective in time management, you have to base your thinking and your philosophy in reality and truth.
Like that.
So my quick summary would be, if you're not dazzling them with your brilliance, you're baffling them with your If it matters, you'll make it happen. And if it doesn't, you'll simply make an excuse. And if you're making an excuse, then you're doing just that. You're making an excuse for your own inefficiency or your time management. But what I would say, in that time management, if you know that it's an option, if you know you're making that excuse, if you know it doesn't matter, then at least give the person that is being affected the respect of a phone call or of the truth that, listen, I don't really care about this job, or I need this job just to pay this bill, or I'm here for these other reasons, in whatever capacity you're doing it, even if it's just meeting somebody to have a drink or a beer. Give them that phone call. Don't say around the corner and you're not going on bed. You know, don't say I'm 5 minutes away and you know it's half an hour, because somebody's waiting on you, and that is a disrespect. However you look at it, whether you are creative or not, it's a form of disrespect. Even if the person doesn't receive it entirely as that, not being true to your word is a lie. And it is inefficiency, and it's an excuse. Time management, the efficiency of time management. I learned a lot once again on this episode. Effective time management, I'm going to definitely take that on board with regards to writing certain things down, especially when people engage me in public. And a lot of times you do want to say, oh God, in my mind, I'm having a drink, and I'm having a good time, and I'll take a little bogle or a little wine, and you're coming to hit me with these things. But understand as well that they are seeing you out and they're using the opportunity, and that's part of our culture. And understanding our culture and how we do things, you know, where you're drinking is also part of that culture. And so I thank you. That's definitely one of the things that I'm going to take on to be more effective in the way I may deal with things. And to close off, to say, manage your capabilities, what you know are your capabilities. So like you said, if something is going to take more than 10 minutes, gauge it first. And if you know it's going to take longer, then be true to that. So a lot was in here, a lot to take away. I'm going to definitely be looking back at this one to take some more notes. Johan, say, Colin, Niall, thanks as always. This was Manhood, or this is Manhood. We're talking about time management.
Kill them with love and kindness, no gunshot. And this a jazzy blaze, Jaja fire, one raise. 3 months and days. Manhood, what we say? Say this is not a style from above. You're looking for dove, jazzy blaze, tell a blessed that I love. I may kill them with love. Love, kill them with love. No matter how them talk and a grudge, stay the same, never budge. When them see me, still a blessed heart of love. I may kill them with love. Love, sweet, sweet love. I cut my ass the other day, no, but listen. I still a rasta, so me hail Jah. This is why me love me brother call Isa Shaka Boom. And if you ask me don't have a choice. Rising power, me brother, million voice. Think you're bad, carrying on like you're raving. Well, let me tell you about life. Who sing that? King David, me show you love. And every question get answer. Big up Ella Entertainer, Queen Omega. Not a style from above. You're looking for dove. Jazzy Blaze, tell a blessed that I love. I me kill them with love. Love, kill them with love. No matter how them talk and a grudge, stay the same, never budge. When them see me, still a blessed heart of love. I may kill them with love. Love, sweet, sweet love. Watch me then to show me bad and lyrically inclinedly. Got this jam melody, and my brother carry. Oh, what a joy, sipping herbs, liquor in me cooler. With my friend Benjamin coming from Maruga. Them see me blunt, thought it was a rocket launcher. Bill and next spliff, Malanasha. And they link me, I say, about Angelifa. And this is Jazzy Blaze with a new selector. This is not a style from above. You're looking for dove. Jazzy Blaze, tell a blessed that I love. I may kill them with love. Yes, love, kill them with love. No matter how them talk and a grudge, say the same, never budge. When them see me, still a blessed that I love. I may kill them with love. Love, sweet, sweet love. Send love to coming up artists. Big up Ken Roy King and my friend Juvenis the Buddha Fight. Reggae music play whole night. Big up Elijah Black and Mrs. Shinko Shite. Tonight we smiling and shining bright. Not a sign from above when yellow spark up the light. And if you didn't hear me call your name, the next song right I might release today. Say this is not a style from above. You're looking for dove. Blaze, tell a blessed that I love. I may kill them with love, yes. Love, kill them with love. No matter how them talk and a grudge, say the same, never budge. When them see me, still a blessed that I love. And me kill them with love. Love, sweet, sweet love. Watch me then sing L-O-V-E, love. Trinidad and Tobago, I love you, sing again. L-O-V-E, love. CNC Trip, me love you, sing again. L-O-V-E, love. Manhood. Cheese.
Manhood, brought to you in part by Lucozade and Solomon's Bespoke.